Welcome to True Crime 101 with Murder Friends, the podcast where three friends from three different countries talk about murder. My name's Anna, and I'm American.
I'm Alana, and I'm Canadian.
My name's Hannah, and I'm British.
In addition to our long episodes, True Crime 101 talks you through key true crime cases and theories. So, today I have for you, and I'm going to tell you about this story, but I'm wondering if you have heard of it, but maybe not by this name. So, do you know about the murder of Travis Alexander?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay. You may know it when I start. Travis Victor Alexander was born on July 28th, 1977 in Riverside, California. His parents passed away, and after his father died, Alexander and his siblings were taken in by their paternal grandmother, and they were raised by her. She introduced them to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, otherwise known as Mormons. So Alexander had a really normal life. He had a good upbringing by his grandmother. When he got older, he then worked as a salesman for the multi-level marketing company Prepaid Legal Services. He was also a motivational speaker, and he was very involved in his own Mormon community in the church. We're going to fast forward to his adult life, and in September 2006, Travis Alexander met Jodi Arias at a conference in Las Vegas.
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay, now you know. Now you know who I'm talking about. Okay.
This bitch.
I know. At the time, Alexander was 30 years old, and Arias was then 28. She was living in California, working as a saleswoman as well. So the two had an instant connection, and they started to speak on the phone every day, and they started exchanging thousands of emails. And I think it came out later that they exchanged around 82,000 emails.
Oh my god.
Which, I mean...
82,000?
Emails too, not like
Yes.
text, like actual emails.
Yeah, yeah. Aggressive, right? But I guess it was 2006. So I guess we were emailing a lot then, weren't we? I think,
It was a different time.
Maybe? Over texting? Different time. Now, like, you would never do that. You would just text. Whereas then, I think maybe you'd email. Can't remember. On November 26, 2006, Arias was baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because Alexander was Mormon. And that's why I brought it up before, because it was part of being able to date him. He wouldn't date anyone, I think, outside of his own religion. The two officially became a couple the following February, so that's 2007. But in June of 2007, Alexander and Arias broke up, and although they were no longer dating, the couple maintained technically dating. The couple maintained a physical relationship, and throughout the next year, they traveled together a bit, saw each other, but it was very much known that their relationship was not very healthy, and they even sort of hid it between their friends. Alexander told friends on many occasions that Arias was still obsessed with him and believed she'd done things like slash his tires, hack into his Facebook account. But you can see some text messages came out where I think it was just one of those relationships as well, where they was kind of back and forth, where he would text her things to sort of lead her on. They would sleep, the back and forth. We've all had that unhealthy relationship with an ex or whatever, but hopefully did not escalate into what this did. Fingers crossed. Yes. So after the couple broke up, Arias moved to Arizona, but then on April 2008, so the following year, she then moved back to California and lived with her grandparents. So in the beginning of June that year, 2008, Alexander had a scheduled trip to Cancun, Mexico. So the reason I bring this up is because people thought he was going to be out of town, so they weren't necessarily expecting him to be at home, that sort of thing. On June 4th at 7 p.m., he missed a really important conference call, like a business conference call. So on June 9th, so that was 5 days later, having been unable to reach Alexander, people from Prepaid Legal Services, his work, went to his home to check on him. His roommates said he was out of town. They thought he was in Cancun. And after some searching, they found a key to Alexander's master bedroom. When they entered it, they noticed large pools of blood in the hallway leading to the master bedroom, where his body was discovered in the shower. His throat had been cut, and he had been shot in the head and stabbed multiple times. Alexander's friends obviously immediately call the police, and a murder investigation begins. But his friends from that moment already start pointing to Arias as a suspect due to the other sort of things that she'd been doing, the escalated behavior, etc. They contact Arias. She was kind of the first person they were looking at for the crime, and they call her on the phone because she's obviously in California, whereas he's in Arizona. He was in Arizona. To call her on the phone for questioning, and she claimed she had not seen Alexander since the April. Now, I'm going to go into the investigation. I'm just going to sort of lay out all the different things that they found. On May 28th, a week or so before the murder, a burglary occurred at the residence of Arias' grandparents, with whom she was living at in California. So a .25 caliber gun and other objects were taken, and the grandparents' gun was never recovered. Still hasn't been recovered. Then on June 2nd, Arias rented a white Ford Focus in Redding, California, about 100 miles south of her residence. Now, several days before this trip, on June 2nd, she repeatedly contacted her ex-boyfriend, Daryl Brewer, asking to borrow 2 5-gallon gas cans for the trip to Arizona. The cans were not returned to Brewer, and also they found receipts that showed that Arias had purchased a third 5-gallon gas can, sunblock, and facial cleanser from Walmart in California on the 3rd of June, so the day after she rented the car. I left that in because I was like, okay, yeah, so I'm buying a gas can to go murder my ex-boyfriend, but also I really want to take care of that skin. We don't want any unnecessary, so we got the sunblock and we've got
you gotta look good
cleanser
for that eventual mugshot.
Yeah,
though.
priorities.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
I
glowing.
commend the dedication to her skin routine. So a spent .25 caliber round was located near one of the sinks in the master bath. Alexander's damaged digital camera was located in the downstairs washing machine. The camera was brand new, so it was obviously, there was no reason for it to be discarded like this. Detective Flores, who was the head detective on the case, via phone interview with Arias, asked her if she knew a possible motive for why someone would want to damage Alexander's camera. Now, although images had been deleted, the police were able to recover the images. Now, the recovered images included Arias and Alexander both in sexually suggestive poses at approximately 1:40 p.m. on June 4th. The last photo of Alexander alive and in the shower was taken at 5:29 p.m. on June 4th. Moments later, images appear of an individual believed to be Alexander profusely bleeding on the floor.
Oh, that part of this case always makes my stomach turn. Like, I can't imagine being the detectives that then saw those. Like, it plays it out so obviously. Like, to look at those pictures.
I know, it's wild. It's like, yeah, there's just so many questions as to why would you take evidence of it? I mean, like, take a picture of this. It's just sick. Like, what were you?
And also, how stupid are you to think that you're using a digital camera, if you take a picture and delete something, that it will just be forever deleted. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, anyone who's ever taken a picture on a digital camera knows that if you accidentally delete it, you can find it again.
Yeah. I mean, again, in this whole case, it's like, we talk about it, the eating mozzarella sticks, yelling at the TV moments that you have
idiot.
watching true crime. Fucking idiot. Like, come on. Like, it just... Well, and also, okay, you get rid of the gun, but you don't take the camera with the evidence and get rid of that. You just put it in the washing machine? Like...
Yeah, I mean, you could at least have staged it like a robbery gone wrong.
I don't know. There's just... I'm not, like, on her side, but you're also just like, why are you so dumb? Like, I just... What did you expect was going to happen here? So a bloody palm print was located on the bathroom hallway, which DNA revealed to be a mixture of Arias and Alexander's DNA.
That sucks.
Yep. Literally red-handed, like, caught. Like, what are you going to... There's pictures, and there's
great
DNA,
pun.
there's your hand... no. Sorry.
Love it.
After the murder, Arias then drove to meet Ryan Burns in Utah on the 5th of June. He was an old work colleague, love interest. Burns and others who met Arias in Utah after the killing indicated she had bandages on her hands and she wore long sleeves on days when it was very hot. She told different stories about how she received the cuts on her hands. Burns was told that they were from an injury while she was working at Margaritaville restaurant. At the trial, it was revealed by the police and California authorities that no such restaurant even existed, nor ever existed in the area. And at the time of the killing, she worked at a Casa Ramos restaurant. So I don't even understand why she would even lie about... I mean, it just gets worse. It's like, why would you even...
I have a question. What the fuck is a Margaritaville?
Oh my god,
Okay.
Hannah!
What? I know! How do you not know about Margaritaville? Jimmy Buffett?
Okay, can I take this
Warren
question?
Buffett.
Wasting away a margarita.
My
no?
mom
Nothing?
is what they
I was going to say.
is what they call a parrot
She's
head.
a parrot head.
Yes.
Yes.
So
yes.
a parrot head is
Her face. If you could see her face right now.
I feel like I've been in lockdown for a while, and I feel like my mental health is suffering, and I feel like this is going to tip me over the fucking edge. Because you're all just saying words at the moment, and I don't understand any one of them.
I know, it probably sounds
Margaritaville,
weird.
parrot. Carry on.
Okay, so the story goes, there is a man named Jimmy Buffett who is a musician, not a very good one, I'll be honest. And his fans are called parrot heads. It's almost like a cult. And he has he's got restaurants, but he's also got in some, I feel like
In the Disney parks.
yeah, like at Disney, there's Margaritaville.
And Disney, they have Margaritaville. I've been there.
Yeah, me
I've
too.
been to Margaritaville.
And so it's like this whole big, my mom was trying to explain it to me the other day, actually. We were talking about this. It's like a way of life, like by the beach.
Yeah.
Everything's, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, like just chill. And so they call themselves parrot heads. Margaritaville is his like flagship sort of restaurant store sort of thing.
Because he's got a song called Wasting Away in Margaritaville.
Yes.
I think the song came first. I'm going to send you some Jimmy Buffett stuff after this. I have to tell you.
I could probably sing every single Jimmy Buffett song by heart because that's the only thing my mom listens to in the van. Also, Sirius XM has a Margaritaville station that plays Jimmy Buffett, and that's the only thing my mom will put on when we're driving. So that's a very short history of Margaritaville.
Yeah.
So Margaritaville is actually like a restaurant.
It's
Or is
also
it more
like
like
a
a
gift
bar?
shop.
Yeah, it's a ville.
Yeah.
It's like a Margaritaville.
It's
Like
a
it's a lot
thing.
in there. It's a thing. I don't know.
Is there anything in the UK that's comparable?
No.
No.
Oh god.
I remember going
No.
to, I think it's Islands of Adventure is one of the theme parks
Yes, Islands of
in
Adventure.
Florida. And
Yes.
there's a Margaritaville. And what we used to do when I was younger was Mom would stay at the Margaritaville, hanging out, having margaritas. And I would go on rides. And I had to come back and check in like every hour to tell her that I was alive, basically. And then she would just hang out there. And then I'd go back out on the rides. It's like...
Yes.
I love that.
Exactly. Oh, it's so good. It's so funny. Do you know when you have something that you obviously know about like your whole life or just know, and then you realize, oh, wait, not everyone knows about this thing.
And then you
Obviously.
explain it and you think, wow, this is psychotic.
This is ridiculous.
yeah.
Okay.
Sorry for that detour.
That was a huge
I
detour.
had to clarify.
I mean, it's fine because you know what? I don't think all of our UK listeners are going to understand what Margaritaville is. Anyway, there you go. A little
You've
brief
all
lesson
been
on Jimmy Buffett.
educated.
You've been educated. Amazing. Right, so we're back. On June 7th, Arias returned the rental car that she had rented. She had previously told the budget rent-a-car staff that she would only be driving the car locally, but it had been driven about 2,800 miles.
Oh my.
Not local. Yes. So it was also missing all of its floor mats, and there were what looked like Kool-Aid stains on the front and rear seats, which just makes me think you probably don't know what Kool-Aid is either, do you, Hannah?
I do, because it's the commonly misconceived drink from the Jonestown Massacre.
Yeah.
It is. Yes.
But it wasn't. It was Flavor Aid.
Yeah. And you also, that's why people, that slang thing, drinking the Kool-Aid.
There you go.
Yes. Okay.
I know things.
You know things. Awesome. Okay. The car was unfortunately clean, though, before the police were able to examine it. So even after all this evidence was uncovered, which is pretty damning, Arias continued to insist that she had last seen Alexander in April 2008, despite even being presented with the DNA evidence, the photographs, everything by Detective Flores. Arias was indicted by a grand jury on first-degree murder charge on the 9th of July, and then she was then arrested at her grandparents' home on July 15th, and she was extradited to Arizona, where she pled not guilty. So Arias gave 3 different accounts of her whereabouts
God.
for the time she was arrested to her actual like trial. Now, first, she originally told police that she had not been in the home at the time of Alexander's death. She later told police that 2 intruders had broken into Alexander's home and that they murdered him and attacked her. And then finally, which is what they used at trial, she stated that she killed Alexander in self-defense and she was a victim of domestic violence. Sounds totally credible, right? There was a really Access Hollywood. Is it Access Hollywood that did a interview with her? This is also why it became such a huge thing. Well, obviously you don't usually get, I mean, let's face it, we don't get a lot of like women killers, as many, I would think, as you do men. So obviously she was quite pretty and she gave interviews and on Access Hollywood, which was just like an entertainment show, but like TMZ type stuff, where she was talking about how she was, the intruders, or just these wild interviews. So the press just went nuts over the story and it's such a big story. So the trial commenced on the 12th of December, 2012. At opening arguments on January 2nd, 2013, prosecutor Juan Martinez sought the death penalty. Arias was represented by an appointed counsel, L. Kirk Nurmi and Jennifer Wilmot, who argued that Alexander's death was a justifiable homicide committed in self-defense. The trial actually went on for 5 months, which is a really, really long time. Yeah. Arias herself testified for 18 days.
Oh my God.
What?
Yes, 18 days she testified. So there was a point in the trial, there was tons of information about the trial, but honestly, it was so much that basically they presented all the evidence. She testified with these stories that she was just this wronged woman and all of this. And then it was not premeditated, but obviously you go and buy gas cans so that you don't have to stop when it's not, premeditated. And she also decided she wanted to represent herself, which the judge allowed, but then took back. She was quite unhinged with all of it. It was just, she's got stuff going on. And so her counsel was reinstated by the judge. So like I said, it went on for 5 months, and they had a problem with retaining the jury because obviously, can you imagine 5 months of your life, everything. So on April 3rd, a member of the jury was dismissed for misconduct. I don't know what the misconduct was, but apparently he was doing something he shouldn't have. The defense team asked for a mistrial then, but the judge denied it because obviously they have reserve jurors and things that can step in. On the 12th of April, another juror was excused for health reasons. And finally, a third juror was dismissed on April 25th after being arrested for a DUI.
Ooh.
So.
Well, I suppose if you have to listen to that dumb bitch talk for 18 days, it's going to drive you to drink driving.
18 days, I know.
How can you have that much to talk about? I can't even imagine.
Right? Yeah, I know. So finally, on the 8th of May, after 15 hours of deliberation, Arias was found guilty of first-degree murder. Out of 12 jurors, 5 jurors found her guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, and 7 jurors found her guilty of both first-degree premeditated murder and felony murder. As the guilty verdict was read, Arias struggled to repress tears as Alexander's family smiled and hugged each other. Several people who had gathered outside the courtroom began celebrating by cheering and chanting. So Arias was sentenced with life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, and is serving her life sentence in Arizona. So she did have a hearing, a sentencing hearing, and she ended up going to mistrial because they were torn on whether to give her the death penalty or not. In the end, she pled to it and was given life imprisonment without possibility of parole. So she's never getting out, but she did escape the death penalty. Another thing was, this case has still always been kind of one of the really sensationalized cases. Again, like I was saying about, because it's a woman killer that you sort of hear about, and she's quite pretty. And so obviously it makes for good media.
Yeah, even in Canada, we heard tons about this one.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I already lived in the UK. No, I didn't. I didn't live in the UK then. When the trial was happening, I was in the UK then. No, I think I was in the UK the whole time. I'm trying to think now. Yeah, I was. So I didn't get a lot of firsthand experience, but I learned a lot about it sort of, later on through podcasts and reading articles and things like that. But I didn't see a lot on the news, and I can't remember. I'm sure it was probably on here too. Where did you learn about it, Hannah?
Probably just from true crime podcasts and things. I don't remember. Obviously it's not on the news. It wouldn't be on the news here. And then the trial
No, it
probably wouldn't be on the
no.
news here either, unless it was like a really slow news day. So yeah, it's probably from just...
I don't remember it.
Yeah, probably just from true crime stuff in general. It's
Yeah.
quite a famous one though.
Yeah.
That's great. I like, and it's actually really sad that I didn't know what his name was, because really it's about him, right?
That's why I didn't want to say I was talking about Joe Diaz, because you get with these cases, a murderer takes over the victim in the whole, I think when they become solved, like, so John Bonet is always known by John Bonet Ramsey, right? Because we don't have a, it's always been about her. There's never been anyone convicted or anything like that. So I think the victim, like Amanda Knox, it's about Amanda Knox, not about Meredith, Kercher?
Catcher, yeah, I think.
Kercher? Is that how you say her last name? I couldn't remember how to say her last name. We never really hear about Amanda Knox, even though the victim gets a bit lost. So anyway, I wanted to bring attention to him rather than her.
I remember her like mugshot photo, and her just, I think it was kind of sensationalized because, you know, she was this like pretty blonde, and like you kind of like don't see that very often.
No, you don't. That's why, again, like, it's when you think about cases like some of the bigger cases, even it was a wild case anyway, but Casey Anthony.
Oh god, that's horrible.
Oh, she's like horrible. She was quite pretty, wasn't she? And it was this whole crazy story where you don't hear many about mothers killing their children or whatever, although she was found not guilty. That's why it's such a big cases. Or like Scott Peterson. He was a really good-looking guy.
Debatable.
And his wife was good-looking. It was a very wholesome family in California, the baby. And you're like, but it's so sad. But I hope I'm saying this without being offensive, but like you will get much more media, and people will go crazy over that as opposed to like a family that's maybe on meth. That's like, has never, you know what I mean? Like never worked. And like they're kind of it's a class thing, isn't it? Which is horrendous. And it's always addressed to the media where it's just the scale of like the attention. Again, and one in the UK is, what's the one in the UK? Madeleine McCann has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of money because the family, but whereas the other missing kids.
Because they're white, upper class, or middle class, upper class, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Whereas if that was like a single mother, his child got abducted, she'd be vilified in the media.
Exactly. So I just think it's another sort of case of
Class.
There we go. Anyway, so I think that's all I have for today. You can check out our website at murderfriends.com, our email, murderfriendspod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, murderfriendspod, and on Twitter, murderfriendspd. And we'll see you next time. Bye.